what better story to start off with but a little RFK news, which we've been covering on this show, as honestly as possible. I know some of these moments seem like let's all celebrate. Well, if you guys haven't heard the headline yet, this is the headline. I'm just going to throw up the banner. RFK Jr. terminates mRNA development investments. We're going to get into the story and tell you guys it's not a celebration just yet. But first, I love starting these things off with, let's see how the mainstream is reporting it. This is just a little blurb from NBC, but they're freaking the hell out over at NBC. RFK Jr. cuts $500 million in mRNA vaccine contracts, dealing major blow to promising area of research. The cuts add to mounting evidence that Kennedy is pursuing an aggressive anti-vaccine agenda. Now, we happen to not think he is very anti-vaccine overall because, let's hear. He's going to tell us himself on his own tweet from HHS. Kennedy says, "We reviewed the science, listened to the experts, and acted. BARDA is terminating 22 mRNA vaccine development investments because the data shows these vaccines fail to protect effectively against upper respiratory infections like COVID and flu." That is true. Now, this part is the most important part, gentlemen. We're shifting that funding towards safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective even as viruses mutate. Let's hear. This is the clip he put out himself. Let's hit it, and I want to break it down with you guys and hear your thoughts. So here we go. He's telling us, this is great news, everyone. Let's celebrate.
Hi, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. here, your HHS secretary. At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of vaccines, drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emerging diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA vaccine development investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or COVID, but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation and the vaccine becomes ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomena called antigenic shift, meaning that the vaccine paradoxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the vaccine. Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA vaccines ineffective.
Well, we already know all this about the way it's like this with all of them. I mean, this is obvious stuff to those that are paying attention. So he's explaining the basic, hey, if you guys don't know anything about anything, let me tell you. So I'm going to cut it off there because we get the basic idea. But I do think the tweet he put out, the most important part is he's saying that we are moving this investments to other vaccines. So the money's not being cut off. It's just being moved. Jay, I want to hear you chime in on this. Where are you hearing this news? Is there anything good here? Or are we right to be? Am I right to be skeptical here on this?
Yeah, great question. Well, plot twist, maybe the vaccine he's talking about is intravenous vitamin D and vitamin C, but I highly doubt that's the case. I wish that was the case, but to be honest with you, I really want to point out, why is it the most dystopian programs rhyme too? You got DARPA and now BARDA. Like, where did that come from? But anyway, to the topic at hand, right? If he had put out an announcement saying that we're shifting money away specifically from mRNA development to research into natural remedies that might be able to, help protect us against viral diseases, and education on promoting optimal health so we're more resilient to vaccines. If that was the announcement, I would have been pretty excited, but I'll still take the half win at the end of the day, because if you look at the different types of vaccine technology, it's just, undeniable that mRNA does present some unique dangers that were not present in other vaccines. And that's not to say all other vaccines are entirely safe and we have nothing to worry about. But, there has been an increase in excess death rate that is unique to these mRNA products. So I'll take the half win. It's clear he's not doing the right thing because he's not talking about what went wrong in the last pandemic, but he's doing, a halfway wrong thing and trying to go back to, the less dangerous shots. That's kind of how I feel about the announcement. But, I will take the win because, there is a very strong push towards mRNA, technology in particular across the world. And he's one of the few people who's well versed in it. And, I'd like to see him go into more detail on not just mRNA, but also lipid nanotechnology, which is unique, to these vaccines. And it makes it so, the mRNA genetic material can go anywhere in the body. So I'd like to hear him talk about some of the bigger problems, which I know he has the knowledge of, but isn't doing it yet. And in the meantime, I'll take the half win while pointing out he's still not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a half win. I think he's providing cover here for mRNA, right? He's saying that mRNA is not good for this. Even use the example of the Omicron respiratory. We can do other things. He's not even pointing out the fact that natural remedies, if he would have thrown a little bit, as we know, Omicron could have been taken care of a little iodine up the nose, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquines, words we know he'll never say, right? I mean, and once again, not just completely disagreeing that it's not a half win of sorts, because if he were to speak freely or openly or the way we want him to speak, they probably wouldn't let him do that at all, right? And this is why we could look at it like I'm fence sitting in a way. I'm going to get rid of money going to mRNA, the ton of money right now. It's just going to be reshifted in other places. We're not, people want to know where the money's going, right? Yep. That's for sure too, as well. And more importantly, does anything systemically change? No. This is almost to me when he said with him along with Trump pulling out of the WHO right now. Yeah, but the next president that goes in, if it's a Democrat, they can go right back into the WHO. It's not anything that's going to really systemically change the system we have, and in fact, a lot of the rules that were written for the treaty were written by who? Us, the West, that are going into place. So even though it looks like, well, Donald Trump is not even going to the WHO and we're sitting back, we can easily get back in. Same thing can happen right here. mRNA can come circling right back around because, number one, he's not talking what Jay had just talked about and pointed out, the fact that mRNA is actually bad. He's actually just kind of putting it in the back of the classroom. It's almost like sending the police officer home that murdered somebody, but still putting him on paid leave and then eventually bringing him back. That's what this feels like to me. But, I mean, there's this whole other thing that we have to address, and what Jay was also alluding to, because there's two questions. There's this mRNA question. What is he actually doing? What's going on? Where's the money going? Yada, yada. But I think we need to ask the main question when people kind of criticize or judge RFK, and those who still kind of support him saying we're getting small wins, those who are not supporting him that were once, in his corner are saying, no, he's actually providing too much cover for big pharma or whatnot. Well, what exactly does the medical freedom want? Do they want justice? Do they want people to go to jail? Because that's never going to happen. More than likely, the people who want what's a walk back is what I would call a complete review of what happened during COVID from top to bottom, talking about the testing, talking about the immunity and the natural, natural remedies, all that stuff, using congressional hearings, getting people from the left to talk about it, laying it out the right way. I think that was what a lot of people kind of thought we would get. Not that it would bring some form of justice, but it would kind of provide us with some protections moving forward, that a group of people can come in. And, I talk about COVID all the time, not just as the fact that it's a virus or a disease. It's a way of control in which the ruling class using the government could mandate and dictate what certain people have to do and when they have to do it. We need that review, and we are not getting that from RFK whatsoever. And I get it that people are going to say, well, there's only so much he can do and is allowed to do. Well, that's not really changing the system. That's playing into the system's hands. And I think that's why the criticism is fair when it comes to RFK. And even in this particular case of him, I think, providing cover for our mRNA. It's not going away. It's just going to sit in the back of the classroom for now. But it's still in the classroom.
I think that what you said at the end is important, because that's also true, Craig. It's also true that he can only do so much, but he's not doing the thing we want him to do for whatever reason. I think he wants to. He can't because there's power in place that won't allow him. So he has to kind of create these little tiny showy type moments of success where yeah. And let me and then Jay, I want you to respond, but this, I just want to remind people that this was in the tweet. This is look at the last sentence. We're shifting that funding towards safer, broader vaccine platforms that remain effective even as virus mutates. So that's him saying, we're taking the money here, we're putting it over here. You guys aren't going to lose any money. All the big pharma companies, you guys don't come at me. I'm going to make it look like we're doing something here, but we're just moving it around. It's just a shuffle. That's what it looks like to me. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said just now, Craig. We should be pressuring him and holding his feet to the fire because we know that he knows better and he knows that. So I 100% agree with what you said, and what I would just add is it's an easy win for him to start talking about decentralized digital ID and talking about how digital privacy is going to play a role in this situation. And he's completely mum, on that aspect of it too, because, the truth is there are some aspects to, wearable technology that might be beneficial if our privacy was protected, but it's not right now. And the government could easily change that because they're going full speed ahead right now on centralized digital ID. Kennedy knows that. He spoke about it during his campaign, yet right now he's all of a sudden gone completely mum, on that issue. So, I'd like to see him do the right thing. So I agree with you, Craig. He can do better. My only point is he is taking a step towards at least raising, the possibility for people that it's okay to question Big Pharma. I mean, I don't think he's changing too many minds that weren't already changed, with this move. But, I would hope that at least now that we have someone in an official position saying mRNA is not effective, at least in this case, I'll take that win. So, but I agree with everything else you said. And we have to hold his feet to the fire. Otherwise, he's only going to be receiving pressure in one direction, and that's the wrong direction. So, I agree with everything you said.
And the thing is, the argument is not that mRNA is just not good for this. mRNA has got a lot of problems all in all, and the way they want to use it and where they want to use it. And it's being used in a way, not because it's beneficial and better for the people. It's a technology that can, really help better humanity. It's being pushed forward for financial reasons from Big Pharma and whatnot. And the thing is that the overall essence of RFK, excuse me, I keep saying Donald Trump too as well, because I think, they both did this bait and switch Houdini kind of like act, bigger than more than Obama, I think, at this point right now too as well, because some of the core issues, one being vaccines. RFK used to have this attitude that vaccines in general are not good, right? Not just pointing out the problems of them, but in general, they're not good. And in all cases, natural immunity should be looked at before a vaccine is taken, period. Now he's at the sense where vaccines are good. We're just going to remove the bad elements for them and not so mention those natural remedies and stuff. Like when you were putting up that last tweet, can you put up that last tweet really quickly just so I can point out? I don't know if you already took it down. If you did, don't worry about it.
I can grab it. It's right here.
But, when he's talking about vaccines itself, like I want to make sure I quote it properly. We're shifting that funding towards broader vaccine platforms that remain effective as viruses mutate. That's not what his language would be if he was speaking freely before the elections. He would say, we're moving towards safer natural remedies so that vaccines will be the last resort that are effective. And, I'm saying he would have that kind of mentality. In other words, the pecking order from him and all his clan, all the frontline doctors, all the Pierre Corys, the Dr. Merricks, the what's his name? Even Del Bigtree, Peter McCullough, all their attitude is like natural immunity works better always. We should always explore that first. And then when all else fails, like Western medicine does, we go to the vaccine that we need to do because we haven't been able to find, I'm saying? That's not even in the language anymore. And that's something I think that we wanted to change. I think a lot of people thought that him not so much capitulating, but playing the game, Matt, would be like, okay, listen, we'll say if all else fails, your vaccine is necessary. But first, we need to spend money exploring natural remedies. And that really just blows up big pharma as a whole, because once again, now you're shifting the whole game to alternative medicine, natural stuff, things to make you better, make you healthier, whatnot. That's not even on the table right now. Yeah. Now it's just that the vaccine that we'll use, I'll make sure that it's safe, but the vaccine is the first choice. That is fundamentally different than what the medical freedom movement wanted. That is fundamentally different than what the medical freedom movement expected. And that's why he is looked at as more of a failure than a success, right?
So look, let's remind everyone how bad the mRNA actually is. I found this came up right before we went live today, and I know, Craig, you'll appreciate this. You both will appreciate this, but we had a conversation with Dr. Ben Marble pretty recently, and he tweeted this out, and it's just to remind you guys how bad this actually is. Red Pill Dispenser quoted Dr. Ben Marble: the entire blood supply in America and basically the whole world is contaminated with the spike protein poison bioweapon. The spike protein, as you know, comes from the mRNA gene therapy technology. We need to quit accepting blood from people who took the poison. We're seeing patients that get blood transfusions that are unvaccinated, and suddenly they get blood clots or have heart attacks or strokes. And no one's going to convince us here that RFK Jr. forgot to look into this part of things. He knows exactly what the problem is, and he's not talking about that at all. Dr. Ben Marble is. Let's hear. This is a little clip of him telling us about this. And again, it's not us saying it; we're just reporting on it. But Dr. Ben Marble is going to tell us how bad it is. Here it is.
Marble here. I'm going to make a comment about the blood supply. The entire blood supply in America and basically the whole world is contaminated with the spike protein poison bioweapon. We need to arrest all the damn evil poison pushers, and we need to quit accepting blood from people who took the poison, because we're seeing patients that get blood transfusions that are unvaccinated, and suddenly they get blood clots or have heart attacks or strokes, have bad outcomes after receiving blood that has the spike protein poison in it, which is what I told everybody was going to happen 3 years ago, and I was banned everywhere for telling the truth. All right, so we got to arrest all these damn evil poison pushers, and we need to get the spike protein out of the blood supply. This is complete mad science insanity, and all the retards are in charge, and they all need to go to fucking hell, as far as I'm concerned.
And so that language, no one's saying, oh, RFK Jr. has to have that exact language. That's an extreme way to put it. But the fact that he's not even in the ballpark at all, having any discussion about this, when we know the data is available, it's there. And it's another indicator that, yes, that his entire Maha movement is captured, and there's not really be anything we can do about it. Before you guys respond to that, this also came up this morning. This is all last minute stuff. Trump was asked about this. He's still pushing Operation Warp Speed. It's absolutely nuts. This is right now.
You were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard.
Right.
Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts him at odds with
Research
the
on
entire
what?
medical community and with you. What is going on?
Research on what?
Research on what? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah, we'll explain to Trump. What did he miss? While the rest of us were paying attention, Trump needs to be updated on what happened.
Into mRNA vaccines.
Well, we're going to look at that. We're talking about it, and they're doing a very good job. And, that is a pass. With Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing. But, that was now a long time ago, and we're on to other things. But we are speaking about it. We have meetings about it tomorrow at 12 o'clock, and we'll determine. We're looking for other answers to other problems, to other sicknesses and diseases, and I think we're doing really well. Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So the timeline is that this this was said yesterday. He was talking about today. Today he's having a meeting.
Wow.
So there you go, guys. This is him saying, no, we're going to set RFK straight. So as we're sitting here talking about how how watered down, and that's a light way of putting it, how watered down RFK Jr.'s behavior is. And we showed you guys Dr. Ben Marble, and that's the extreme way to be talking about it. He can't even get in the ballpark of that. And meanwhile, you got the president of the United States who ran with Maha, got elected because Maha showed up for him, and MAGA embraced Maha. And he's saying, no, we got a meeting about this. We'll set him straight. Because remember, Operation Warp Speed, everybody agrees that was amazing. Take it away. I got nothing else to say.
All of this was entirely predictable, and that's why I was so pissed when he,
I didn't
sold out
predict
and
this,
joined-
Jay. I
joined
didn't think
the
at this
duopoly.
late stage of the game, I thought at the very least he would fucking avoid saying that it was wonderful. You know what I mean? You didn't have to say it's bad, but to fucking brag about it. Go ahead, buddy.
I mean, what I mean is I expect RFK to get put in line. That was why, I had literally just shot a music video, man, that week, helping promote RFK's campaign, and he went and endorsed Donald Trump. And I instantly stopped supporting that move. I never even thought about supporting him for all the reasons RFK listed himself during the campaign. So, it truly is amazing that people haven't really grasped the impact of everything we've seen, not only the excess deaths that I've mentioned just now, not only the people who've already been hurt, which there's a fair amount, but at any given time, I just want everyone to think about this. At any given time, it's possible that someone suffers a health emergency. You could do everything to try to take care of yourself, to, look after your own body, but it's possible that anyone goes through that. And if you wind up at the hospital and something goes wrong, there's a chance that they may want to give you a blood transfusion. And if the person who you're at the hospital with, or who can speak for you when you're not able to speak for yourself, has no idea that there's mRNA in the blood supply and doesn't know that you don't want that, then you're going to get that more than likely, because the overwhelming majority of our blood supply is going to be vaccinated blood unless you specifically request otherwise. So, this is, and, I just, shout out to Jimmy Dore. He just ran a segment the other day highlighting how someone who got a blood transfusion, wound up in the ER with pericarditis. It was unconscious for 26 days right after they got a blood transfusion. So this is something that can literally happen to anybody. I recently had a situation in my life where the topic came up, and thankfully, we didn't have to go down that road. But this is something we're not talking about. It's not like we cannot get unvaccinated blood. The only point I would disagree with that guy who said, there's most of the blood supply is vaccinated is, unfortunately, Western countries are the ones that have high mRNA vaccination rates. If we made this an issue, we could probably fix our blood supply issues by working with some of the developing world who largely did not take it. So, for anyone who's worried about the great replacement, or, Americans being replaced, the first place you should start is, stopping the people who are killing off the majority of the Western populations. And that means standing up to big pharma. So, I'd encourage everyone to talk about this poison and recognize it's not just the deaths. It's not just, the illnesses. This is an ongoing problem that has ramifications that many people haven't thought of yet.
Yeah.
Well, it's still under emergency use authorization too for children, right? It's still going on. What's her name? I forgot her name. Who's over there at the CDC? She's still a big time vaccine pusher. They're still trying to convince people that's going on. You got President Orange going up there, saying Operation Warp Speed was great. So, he has the same position as Joe Biden does, not only on the vaccine, but also in Ukraine now. So congratulations to Donald Trump to completely falling off the thing. But I want to send a shout out to those who, those people in New York who refused to take the shot. And I'm not going to, some of those people who took the shot, who went into the pressure, you did what you had to do. But my love and my shout out is to those people there in New York who are still standing strong. However, this point, right, we're talking about with the blood is a serious issue. Now, you don't have to take the Ben Marble position on it, right? You don't have to say we have to simply point out, and this is what I think a lot of people expected RFK, this area right here. It just has to be designated. It has to be known. It has to be transparent that the blood you are getting from somebody did or did not take the vaccine. That's it, right? You don't have to make a whole big thing about it like Ben Marble did and whatnot. I mean, it's a serious issue. But if it's known that if the blood right there is just simply listed that this person, you're taking blood from a person who did get the vaccine or not. And it should be left up to the person to make the decision whether or not they want to use that blood. That's what should happen. And I think that's what a lot of people in the medical freedom movement expected people like RFK to make. That movement right there. Just designate it. Let's not talk about bad, good, awful, whatnot. I mean, the whole thing is any way you look at the situation, natural immunity versus a vaccine, whether you believe in vaccines or not, whether you believe they save lives, it is not naturally induced protection for your system. You are unnaturally triggering an antibody or a protection in your body to go fight something that you are anticipating is coming. It's not natural. That alone should be able to be saying, this is why we have to list and designate whether the blood you are getting in a transfusion is from a vaccinated person or an unvaccinated person, period. And that's what we didn't get. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, no, look, obviously we agree Dr. Ben Marble's take is the one extreme side, but he's not wrong to say that we're kind of screwed when you have agencies like the American Red Cross, who I tried to go back and look at the story, but even as soon as 2 years ago, it was reported that American Red Cross was deliberately keeping this information off of their donations, blood donations, on purpose. And they did not want to have access to information of who had the mRNA or not, and that was on purpose. And I just wanted you to know that I think I'm not in Dr. Ben Marble's head, but I think there is just to even the idea that was something that even just one agency did or attempted to do shows us how screwed we are if they were successful at doing that. So I don't have the documented stamp of the receipts on that, but I can tell you just the fact that that's something going around in circles. How do we really protect ourselves from the horrible shit we did to people? Let's erase the paper trail by not keeping tabs of that thing. So that does in effect make Dr. Ben Marble kind of on point there, saying we're kind of all screwed.
Really quick. Really quick, just so you guys know, in that same Jimmy Dore video, he mentioned that there are several states that are right now advancing legislation to give patients the option to know whether or not the blood they're receiving is vaccinated. But here's the thing. When you look into their reasoning behind it, they're not really questioning the safety of mRNA technology. They're just framing it as, well, we want patients to have a choice. So they're still not talking about the actual dangers behind it. But, really quick, if you want to bring the conversation up, when I was in that situation I mentioned where the topic came up, I simply asked the doctor, hey, have you heard that there's elevated, spike protein levels in people with long COVID? That's what I said, because I knew if I used the word vaccine that it was going to derail the whole conversation. But they accept that quote unquote long COVID exists, and there is blood that has a large amount of mRNA in it. So, I'd encourage everyone, if you wind up in the hospital, or, if you speak with any doctors and nurses, like, bring this up with them, ask them, if they're concerned about mRNA in the blood supply. And even if you don't want to talk about the vaccine at first, bring up the long COVID aspect, and then point out how there's different concentrations between people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated, and, take it from there. But it's something we have to continuously put in people's faces. And unfortunately, I don't think any blue states are going to see legislation like that, because blue states are going in the opposite direction. But in some red states, I think it was Texas, Tennessee, and a few others, they are advancing legislation to just give people the option to know.
Did you take the vaccine?
Absolutely not. What's
your blood type?
I don't remember. I gotta go check that. I'll be
Matt, what's your blood type?
I don't have it in front of me.
Come on, guys, we gotta know this. I'm O negative. I didn't do it, right? So now we know if you got to need a blood transfusion, if we're good, we got to, what I'm saying? Like, I want to be there. Like, oh my God, what I'm saying? Who's this guy? He took the vaccine. I don't want his blood, right? But this guy, give him my blood. We need to start. That's what we need to start doing as friends. Find out who's the one unvaccinated, find out what your blood type is, and say, listen, if I need a blood transfusion, can you come here and get this to me right away? Because I don't want to get pumped with that fucking juice.
Yeah. Well,
responsibilities and friendships, my friends. Find out your fucking blood type so we know, all right?
Okay. We'll
I'm
get
O
on
negative.
it.
O negative. Let's go.
We'll get on it, Pasta. We'll get it. We got to have that information available. Okay.
Just like Shelby Asana started the whole thing with the, the unvaxxed, the date, right?
Yeah. Unjected.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, with all that, it's just let's just take the little win, as Jay Scott will say.
It was not a little
terminating.
win. I thought we established that.
It's a tiny win because they're at least raising the question. They're raising the question. They're raising the
But he's
question.
moving the money.
The bad doesn't outweigh the
He's
good.
moving the money. Good job, RFK. Good job. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart will cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.